This is a kind of unplanned, unexpected episode, people, because I am unexpectedly on family business in Australia.
Yes, you are.
I'm in the same room as Tim.
In Radelaide.
I am. I'm here. So we thought, well, maybe we should make a podcast in person. So we're not completely prepared. I don't think we've polished and honed our ideas as much as we normally do.
I'm feeling very underbaked.
Yeah, and that's saying something for us. But we thought maybe we'd burn through a few ideas on our lists and see if anything comes of it, like we do. Before that, though, a little bit of follow-up from the previous episode 148, which was called A Couple of Duds. And we also dealt with the idea of episodes of TV shows and songs and things that you skip, that you don't necessarily like. And we heard from some of you already about things that you like to skip. Let me see what I've got here. A couple of these I found quite interesting. Our friend Bruce says he skips the episode Shore Leave in Star Trek, the original series. I have no idea what that is, but Bruce skips it. Someone wrote Season 1 of The Office, US. That's skipping a whole season. Some people refer to skipping whole seasons. Someone talked about the TV show Taskmaster. There are certain seasons of that they skip. And apparently there's an episode of the US Office called Scott's Tots that someone told us they skip. And here's an interesting one. Someone I know, Michael, says that his family usually skips the 9/11 episode of The West Wing when they're watching The West Wing. Because famously, when the 9/11 terrorist attacks happened during, like, The West Wing, they kind of did this weird episode where they kind of broke the narrative of the story because they felt like they had to deal with the issue, and they made this weird episode that wasn't like a normal West Wing episode.
Yes, I think the episode's called Isaac and Ishmael. So it goes back to the Old Testament history kind of stories of the issues behind, and it's one of those sort of preachy episodes where there's like a whiteboard and lots of explaining going on.
Different. It's not what you signed up for necessarily when you watch The West Wing. So anyway, 10:42 p.m. That's a username on Reddit. Wrote in something about this that I found quite interesting because it's a song I quite like, and it's a song I know that you'll be very familiar with. This is what 10:42 p.m. wrote. One of the songs from a favourite artist of mine and the Unmade podcast that I always have to skip is That Summer by Garth Brooks.
Oh.
I grew up listening to it, and I actually love how the song sounds. But then when I finally listened to it again as an adult, I realised how creepy the lyrics are. Not sure this is exactly what you were going for with the skippable idea, since it's not that I don't like it, but I think that podcast idea could also be interesting if you include personal reasons for disliking something, like the lyric being uncomfortable, it reminds you of an ex, a bad memory, etc., etc. I actually wrote back to this person and said, so when you're listening to that album, The Chase is the album it's on, isn't it?
Yeah.
I said, when you're listening to the album, do you skip it? And 10:42 p.m. said, yes, I usually do. I think it's the only song on any of his albums that I skip. That Summer, which is about like a young boy. He goes to work on a farm that's run by a widow, a lonely widow woman, hell-bent to make it on her own. And he's like a farm boy, I think, for her. And then one night when a storm comes rolling in, I think they have a bit of romance. And in modern eyes, I mean, I don't think they specify the ages of the people involved, but there is perhaps an age differentiation that may be bordering on inappropriate.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those ones where if they were swapped around and it was an old man and a young woman, it would be definitely very suspicious. And so to have integrity, the fact that it's flipped around, it's
shouldn't make a difference.
No, it shouldn't. No, it shouldn't do it.
So,
I went to work for her that summer.
Yeah. Well, he's teenage, isn't it? A teenage boy so far from home, but they don't say how old the teenage boy is.
So let's say 19 to keep everyone comfortable.
Right. Okay, 19, yeah. or 119. Yeah. So.
Fair enough point. And that is a whole other category. Well,
and she could have been widowed at 20.
She could have been widowed at 16.
Yeah.
Some US states.
It's fine. It's all fine.
We have to that idea of something being cancelled, of course, is another whole where not just you skip something, where society now skips that particular series or episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have this problem because we have this running joke about the song "Money for Nothing." Insert Tim audio here.
We don't need to do that.
Done. And of course, that song has a very inappropriate word in it.
I never think about the words, but I only really realised that recently when I was reading an article, making the point that you're making.
Songs made in a different time, but it doesn't mean we,
Doesn't mean it's not a great guitar riff.
No. Yeah. Yeah, you're opening it up, playing it again, playing it again. That's why it should be cancelled. Anyway, thank you for everyone getting in touch. Still keep getting in touch with us on, all the usual places. Let us know things that you skip, episodes of TV shows, songs. It's always very interesting, especially interesting when it's someone you really like. Have you got a Garth Brooks song that you skip?
I think there's lots of Garth Brooks songs that I'd skip.
Yeah, me too.
If I put an album on, you jump over. Like there's a song called Nobody Gets Off in This Town.
Yeah.
Mr. Blue. Those sorts of songs, I just get, we can let that one go.
The ones that are more old school country.
Honky-tonky ones. There's one called the American Honky Tonk Bar Association. That's boring as. I
would listen to that.
No.
I would listen to that.
With Garth, I'm more into the sort of the real heartfelt kind of tunes.
Yeah. My high school love that kind of.
Yeah. To be honest, the ones, they're slightly less country. They're more sort of, pop, sort of soft rock songs, really.
Yeah.
And then
the ballady ones, yeah.
Yeah, when he goes but there's a bit of slide guitar just to justify it, to keep everyone,
So he can stay eligible for country music awards.
That's right, yeah, with a hat and everything. But the real honky-tonk sort of, ones that, with the fiddle and everything, you sometimes lose those.
Ideas for a podcast. That's what we do here.
Oh, yes, indeed.
So Tim and I, because this is kind of an impromptu, unexpected episode, that's the excuse we're using today for our bad ideas.
We have consulted our lists. We both have enormously long lists on the notes part of our iPhones. But I scroll back through and I go, oh gosh, and I'm doing the skip. Oh, I'll skip that one. No, I'll skip that one too. Yeah, skip that one too.
A few skippable ideas on our list. Here's an idea for a podcast, Tim, that I think is a good, solid idea. Actually, it's called Two Jobs, and it's talking to people who have two jobs.
Oh yeah, right.
I've got my wife to thank for this one because she recently encountered a few people who have two jobs that I find interesting because of how different the jobs are. That's when it becomes really interesting. If someone has two jobs that are very different. And my wife met a makeup artist. As you know, my wife works in television. She actually met a makeup artist who was putting makeup on her.
Right.
And so she was a makeup artist, a freelance makeup artist at the BBC. And she has a second job when she's not applying glamorous makeup to TV presenters. She is a prison warden.
Oh, no way.
So one day she's in prison guarding people, and the next day she's putting makeup on women who are going to go and read the news.
That's a classic.
That's a good one.
In a woman's prison
I believe it is a women's prison, yes.
Right, yeah.
And another one that we've met recently is one of the workers at our boys' nursery, a carer, a nursery worker. She does that during the week, and then on weekends she is a flight attendant for an airline and flies all over Europe on planes.
Oh, wow.
Serving drinks to people and ensuring the safety of passengers.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think flight attendant, if you could, I didn't know you could do that part-time, but I think quite a few people have a bit of a fantasy about doing that for a while, or at least part-time, They wouldn't maybe not want to do it all day, all week, but I didn't know you could just do it on the weekend.
Yeah, well, you can't. You have to work on Sundays, but
well, that's true.
You could maybe do it on like Wednesday and Thursday.
But I pretend to do it because I've got a church with an aisle and everyone's sitting down, and I stand up the front waving my hands. Yeah. So it's a little bit like exits further down the back, salvation up here at the front.
Yeah, that's right.
Serve the drinks, come down the middle.
In case of the apocalypse, exits are here, and here. Can I quickly diverge, actually? I thought of something. I came to Tim's church on Sunday, like I do when I'm in town, came along to the service because I like to show my support.
All podcast people come along to Melbourne United.
Yeah, basically half our audience and both presenters were in the building. But it was interesting. In the past, I have criticised Tim. I have had a criticism at the way he conducts his church services. And you remember I said this to you before, Tim, is that when they're doing all the prelim to Tim's main sermon, which is like, the big showpiece event, the main act, Tim sits off to the side just sort of sitting there watching, and other people get up and lead songs and make announcements and do prayers. And at all previous services I'd been to, Tim has gotten up on the stage at that point and said, I've got a quick message, people. I want you to come to this thing on Tuesday, or we've got a special event happening, or there's something I need you to know. And Tim does a quick announcement and then goes back to his seat and then sits there for longer and then gets up and does the sermon. And I always said to him, you shouldn't do that. It's kind of breaking the mystique. It's like, you wouldn't go and see like, U2 and 20 minutes before the concert, Bono will get up and tell you where the exits are or something. The arrival of Bono is supposed to be the big deal. This didn't happen on Sunday, but it was even better because I know Tim had to run an errand and drop one of his daughters off at something. So actually, when the service started, Tim wasn't even there. He wasn't even in the building, and that just built up the excitement for me. You couldn't look off to the left and see him sitting there. It was like, and then he came in like 10 minutes before he was due to go on stage, and it's created all this buzz. It made me realise, I think you should take this even further, Tim, and in all your church services, you should not be visible at all until you do the sermon. Preferably coming up through the stage via some kind of trapdoor, yes. That would be my preference. Or coming in on like a zip line or something would also be cool. But it emphasised to me how right I was previously when I brought this up, and it's better that you are more mysterious before the service. I think you need to double down on this.
I think you're making... because you know me, but you don't really know anyone else involved. I think you're making much too much of my bit, my contribution. I'm actively trying not to have mystique. I'm trying to be like, I'm normal and to be relatable and normal for my bit of it, and all the rest of it is just as important.
Really? You don't think the people coming on Sundays like you're the main show? They're like, oh, what's Tim going to preach about? You think you're just another piece of the...
Well, God's the main show. Like, they're coming for Jeff. They're not coming for me. I'm just here to sort of point them to God and all that.
Yes, on message. You're such a politician.
I have to say, it was a bit... You would have loved it a few weeks ago, because I'd been ill, and even though I'd recovered, I thought it was wise to have a bit of social distancing.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually come before or after the service to do all the other stuff. My wife opened the side door and I came into the back room, which is called the vestry area, which traditionally in the old days is where you're sort of robed up and stuff, and where the choir got ready before they paraded out.
Yeah.
And I actually came in through this kind of almost invisible door to the side of the old pulpit.
Brilliant.
And I walked up into the main pulpit, which is like up off the ground.
Yeah.
And I just stood up there over everyone from a distance, and then preached, and then just left down again. And
never to be seen again.
I did. I walked out the side door. I got on my Vespa and rode home. And before people had even, finished singing their last song, it was like,
that's so
Elvis has left the building.
That's so rock and roll.
I was halfway down the road.
That's so rock and roll. You need to incorporate more of that rock and roll stuff into the show.
We didn't have as much dry ice as like Taylor Swift does when she comes up, but it wouldn't have been out of place. Well, of course it would have been out of place, but it would have been funny.
Anyway, sorry, that was sorry for that diversion. 2 jobs. Do you know many people with 2 jobs? I'm sure you do, but 2 interesting jobs?
Well, no, I have 2 jobs, but it's a bit like I do ministry, like as in a church, but then I also teach at a college how to do ministry. And I think that's pretty common. Someone might be a lawyer and then lecture a bit at night time, or that's pretty common.
Yeah.
To think of something in different fields altogether, that is really cool.
Firemen do it quite a lot, don't they? Because a lot of firemen can have second jobs.
They do. I knew a fireman once who he said a lot of the guys that work there have trades. So they do, bricklaying or plumbing or electricianing, and then they do their shift work around that.
Arsonist. It's actually quite common for firemen to be arsonists later, on the side, so I probably shouldn't joke about it. It's kind of a thing, isn't it?
It is a thing, isn't it? It's in that film Backdraft, isn't that the plot that we've spoiled?
Oh yeah,
now?
Is the arsonist in Backdraft one of the firemen?
Oh, I think so.
You might be right, yeah.
I can't quite remember the plot of the film, but I can remember the plot of the Mad magazine takeoff of the film.
Right.
Which I think follows the same line.
Well, if anyone out there has 2 jobs or knows someone with 2 cool jobs, let us know. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll talk about it more.
Do you consider yourself as having more than one job, or do you have you do a podcast and channels and?
I guess I do. I guess you could break what I do into different jobs, being podcaster and video maker, and Yeah.
I mean, it's all kind of your Brady shtick, isn't it? On that,
It's all media production and media creation. So
Yeah.
it didn't occur to me as someone with multiple jobs.
as well as being a father and a husband and those important stations, in
model.
life. and male model. That's right.
Spy.
Do you know? I found out yesterday. I was talking with the guys after tennis, and they were pointing out someone there they go, so and so's a model. And I said, oh, really? He's a really quite elderly gentleman. They go, yeah, he's 82 and he's a model. He started modelling at 70. I said, what? He's like, yeah, he's got a lot of work. He's modelling. He started modelling at 70. Isn't that incredible?
Well, let's hope for us. Yeah, I guess old people have to model, don't they? Old people have to be in catalogues and ads and stuff. Yeah.
Have you ever been in an advertisement for something?
I don't think so. No, I haven't. Have you?
No, never.
Yeah.
I was once asked to, though. I was doing a little bit of voiceover work and I got offered, would you like to be in this billboard ad?
What, like picture of you on a billboard?
Yeah, that's right. And I'm like, what, really? And they go, yeah, it's for, this was a long time ago, it's for like a Wi-Fi company. And I was like, oh, right. So, and I'm imagining, they want some cool looking dude with his laptop, on Wi-Fi. That's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, no, the casting director picked you out. They need someone to be like a befuddled middle-aged dad who can't work it out. and I was like, okay. Yeah, no,
you didn't do it?
No, I didn't do it.
It's fair. I mean, you laugh, but like, I think it was 40 minutes ago, I walked into this building to meet you and you were on the phone with some tech support guy trying to get a computer to work. And you were exactly in that role of befuddled IT guy going, now it says buffering and downloading. And you were like talking to this guy on the other end of the phone. It was the absolute cliche tech support moment. So.
I had two laptops open and my laptop and I was, jumping between them on the telephone.
Anyway, I won't linger any more on two jobs for now because I want to I think the idea of this episode is to rattle through a few ideas.
Yep. Okay. Let's keep moving.
You got one?
An idea?
Yeah.
That was my other job, wasn't it? Yes.
Oh, yeah. Your second job.
My second job. All right. Let's have a look here.
Look at your list.
Let's have a look here. Oh, look, this is a pretty quick average one.
Yep.
It's called I'm Indifferent or just Indifferent. Something that people go on about that I'm totally indifferent. I realised the other day I'm totally and utterly indifferent to Elvis Presley.
Right.
I have no feelings about Elvis. I have no interest in Elvis.
Yep.
I'm not interested in Elvis. Elvis is arguably the biggest rock and roll star of all time.
And you love music.
And I love rock and roll. I can't get near Elvis. I didn't watch the Elvis movie. I don't want to go to Graceland. I don't particularly enjoy his songs or singing. I don't want to read. I've never read a biography.
But you don't dislike him either.
I just don't care. I don't. That's right. I'm not reviled from him. But I'm totally indifferent to Elvis.
So how would this podcast work? Like, what's the format?
Well, it has the potential to be a bit funny and pretentious. You know how when something's really popular, some people can be that annoying person at the dinner table that says, well, I'm not really interested in that. You want to kind of avoid that tone while somehow being able to identify something of which you are uniquely indifferent to.
Would the idea be you have three people? You have the indifferent person and then someone who loves it and someone who hates it, and they like battle for your heart and mind.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah. That's not a bad idea at all, actually. But that means you've got to end up caring or not caring, and
you want to remain indifferent. You think though, yeah.
Perhaps I guess it's something that's surprising for that person to be indifferent about. Like if I said, for instance, let's say you obviously love the moon, but let's say perhaps you were totally and utterly indifferent about the other planets,
right?
Or the planets. You know what I mean? Like, I really love space. And I said, what about the sun? And you go, I don't know anything. I don't really care about the sun. I just focus on that.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
I like the idea of finding people who you would hope would care about it but don't. Or someone whose surname was Moon and you bring them in and they don't care about the moon. Like, all your life you've been called Jeff Moon. And like, oh, what do you know about the actual moon? Oh, nothing. Do you know how far away it is? No. Do you know who the first person to walk on it was? No. Your name is Moon.
Yeah. Is there something about you that people would be surprised if they're Brady aficionados that you're just indifferent about?
I'm trying to think.
Is there a field of science that you go, well, or mathematics, you're like, well, nah, I'm not interested in that?
No, I like it all. I find it all interesting. I would struggle with that because I find everything interesting. And within seconds, I will find anything interesting and want to know more. So I'm sure there are things I'm indifferent about. Lots of maybe some forms of music, maybe.
What about, is there a sport that's a peak sport?
I like almost any sport once I start watching it for a few minutes. There's lots of things I'm ignorant of and don't know anything about, like lots of television shows that people are really into that I don't know anything about. But I wouldn't call that ignorance indifference, because I think if I watched it, my position would solidify. And you know Elvis and Elvis songs.
Yeah.
So your indifference is not born of ignorance.
No.
I can't think of anything that...
Okay, let me pick a sport that I think you're indifferent to.
Okay.
Ice hockey. One of the big four in America.
Well, I don't watch it and I don't follow it, but I do find it interesting, and I used to play an ice hockey video game, and I am interested in aspects of the sport.
Could you name 2 ice hockey teams?
Yes.
Could you do that now, please?
Let's go with the Detroit Red Wings.
I don't know if that's the team or not. I don't know. I'm even more indifferent than you are.
Toronto Maple Leafs, LA Kings.
Are the Rangers, are they a team?
Yeah, New York Rangers.
I only know that because of sitcoms in New York.
Yeah. They have been changing a lot lately. Some of the franchise names have been changing since I was into ice hockey, which makes it a bit harder. I think, what are the Vancouver teams? Is that the Canucks? There's the Canucks.
Yes, that's right. Correct.
Yeah. I know some. But they do change a bit. Colorado Avalanche, I think, is one.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, now now you're getting me interested.
Let's go play now. I'm trying to think of more now.
I remember you once talking about how you found golf boring to watch, and I really quite enjoyed golf.
No, I like golf now, especially the majors. Yeah, I'm more into golf now than probably ever before.
Right.
I don't like playing golf particularly, but...
Basketball. Do you watch NBA basketball ever?
I don't watch it much, but I wouldn't say I'm indifferent to it. And I think I am interested in it, and like I read news about it and results and find out what's happening, and I'll sometimes even check the standings to see who's where and who's making the playoffs.
Do you follow a team in NBA?
I haven't really got an NBA team, to be fair. Probably... when they were at the height of their powers recently, I was quite enjoying the Golden State Warriors because they had such a great team, and I really liked Steph Curry, and I thought their team was really interesting, and I liked the way they play. So that's probably the team I look to first to see how they're going if I check in on a team.
You know, the Golden State Warriors, I am largely indifferent to NBA. I'm aware of it but don't think of it very often. But I once on a flight watched like a 30-minute documentary about the Golden State Warriors and their victory and how the organisation was rebuilt and everything like that. And the whole time I was going, it's just a shame they've got yellow. Like, it doesn't look great.
LA Lakers wear yellow too, so...
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed to... I don't know if I could really get into this team because of the yellow.
Okay. Did you watch the Big Jordan documentary, The Last Dance?
Yeah. I did. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I notionally I once had a cap from the Brooklyn Nets, but I
went to a Brooklyn Nets game.
Oh, right. There you go.
It was good. I went with my mate, and we both went with our wives, and during the warm-up, we were quite close to the court. The players were totally like giving the eye and being flirty with our wives. It was quite like really noticeable, yeah.
Wow. Oh, gosh. Was Jay-Z there?
No, but because he was involved, and like it did make the whole entertainment and the stuff around the game really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had really cool food in the stalls for sale, like in the food areas. It was like better than usual food. I remember that too.
Okay.
Lots of vegetarian options, things like that.
Right, okay.
So indifferent. I have to say, for all of the ideas you've brought to the table, Tim, this is one that I am probably indifferent about.
I'm struggling to find something.
It's not terrible though. It's not terrible. I think with more polish, we could have probably made it into something. Should I do another idea?
Go for it.
Things I can't make work. I don't know why, but when I go to the men's toilets and all the other guys are washing their hands and drying their hands, I can't, when I wave my hands under the tap, I can't make the water start going. And then when I wave my hands under the blow dryer for my hands, I can never make that work as well. Like it's like my hands are invisible to the infrared or whatever it is that makes those things work, like the sensor. I cannot make those things work. And I feel like, and the person next to me is waving their hands and straight away the water starts flowing and they wash their hands. And then I'm just there like flapping away under the tap. I cannot make those things work.
Wow. You have no presence. You're not embodied enough or something. You're not there.
It's a knack I don't have. What else? I'm pretty bad at pitching tents and pulling and getting tents down. And you know that these days there are these modern tents that you can get that aren't things you would sleep in if you were camping, but you put them up on the beach and they're kind of like already pre-made and they're kind of like spring-loaded.
Oh, yeah,
and you just sort of twist them and they pop up instantly. Then you have to fold them back down with a certain twist and that. We have one of those in our backyard and I would easily spend 40 to 50 minutes trying to get it back down into its shape and make it small. I cannot make those things work. And then someone else will pick them up and go zoop, zoop, in two like flicks of their wrist. It's the size of a handbag, but I cannot make those work.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It ends up as like three little circles, doesn't it, in your hand? But somehow it's one big circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive somewhere. I mastered that once.
Yeah.
And but I'm not confident I could do it again here.
There must be things you can't make work.
No, not really.
No, you're quite good.
I'm largely competent at most things.
I am very fat-fingered on my phone, like when it comes to hitting buttons and things, and I'm really bad at that. And I'm really bad at using the YouTube interface on my phone and iPad, which my wife finds equally frustrating and hilarious because she's like, of all the things you should be able to work, YouTube. And I'm like, how do you turn this? How do you make the captions work? And then I try and press this and I miss the button and I pause it by mistake and like I cannot make that work either.
There's something public. I know how bad my thumb typing is, particularly when I'm Googling. When you look it down at the Google search, did you mean this? And I'm like, oh, I cannot. Well done. Google's amazing for having somehow read my mind as to what I was looking for from the random array of letters that I've actually typed. I do find, and this when I'm doing the whole YouTube or anything majorly involving technology in front of my daughters, I've turned into that bumbling tech guy that I want. It's like I used to be across this. And I explain it to my wife and I explain it to my mum and I explain it to co-workers and all that kind of stuff. And somehow the smallest mistake, of course, gets pounced on by the family as, look at you, or Dad, you just go over there and press this. You don't have to, and I'm just like, what? And I can see I'm already slipping into that other new season of life. Oh, yeah.
You gotta like embrace it in some ways, don't you? But any other things you can't make work? Any tools or tech or?
I have to say, ironically, despite loving coffee, I'm not very good at the milk. Like making the milk and then making a good coffee like your barista's supposed to. When I make that for some other people, because I have mine black, I do it most mornings for one of my daughters, although that's oat milk, so it's a little bit, different, a little bit harder. But I'm going to come out and say I'm not very good at making coffee, to be honest.
Okay. You can't make coffee
I just can't make it work.
Guitars?
I'm not very good at playing guitars.
I tell you what I'm bad at. Opening plastic bags of food. You know how they always have tear here?
Yeah.
And some people will start tearing here and they'll just open it nice and cleanly and then make it be able to reseal. Anything that should be resealable, I cannot open in a way that will then be resealable. I'll always tear it and ruin the resealable aspect to it. And and I'll just and end up ripping it right down the front of it and, instead of across the top and that. I can't open a plastic bag.
It's good you could admit it though. That's great and so forth. Yeah. Many things in the kitchen I'm not very good at. I'm not a very good cook and I try things and I follow a recipe and all that kind of stuff, but I don't have the learnt skill and the taste. I'm not very good with taste. Like, is this good? Is it not good? And I go, well, it's food. Yep, it's salty. It's nice. I'm also not very good at smelling something and knowing if it's off or not. And I always err towards, yep, it's off. Better not. And that I think I probably waste more food than I need to because I'm just not good at telling.
Drifting away a bit from where I'm taking this with things that don't make work, things I can't make work, but This is now getting into things I'm not good at, which is like, that's a whole other list.
That's a long episode.
Cork openers that you put into a cork at the top of a bottle of wine to then take the cork out. I'm very bad at that.
Oh, okay.
9 times out of 10, I'll end up just like destroying the cork, and half the cork will disintegrate back into the bottle of wine.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not bad at that, but I think we have a sort of an idiot-proof bottle opener, which of course we don't use very often now because there's so fewer corks. Yeah. But you being from the old country, you probably have more in your cellar than that.
What about another podcast idea from you?
Oh, golly. I'm not very good at that.
No. Things I can't make work. This podcast.
Oh, look, I think this is an idea that probably... It's an idea that could be followed up. Well, we do. I don't have to do the idea, do I? We just come up with the idea.
Yeah,
that we'll never. I'm not going to make it.
That's
all right?
the beauty of this podcast.
So I'm just coming up front and saying I've not made this podcast.
Okay.
That is, it's a documentary about, I think, was ground zero for cool in the 90s. The Viper Room.
Right. Right.
The Viper Room...
was it in LA or where was it?
It's in LA, yeah. Right. I'm pretty sure it's on the Sunset Strip.
Okay.
And it was a nightclub. It was owned by Johnny Depp, who even then was like the coolest guy in the world. And it seemed to be where everything was happening. Like every time you open a magazine, so-and-so was at the Viper Room or leaving the Viper Room.
I had never heard of it until River Phoenix died there.
Yeah, well, that was a massive thing that happened. The actor River Phoenix tragically died out the front.
Was that the end of the Viper Room, or did it stay cool after that?
Oh, no, that kind of made it, I think. I think that was right in that sort of 1992, 93 kind of time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd be interested. I don't know what's going on, if the Viper Room's even still there. Okay. I don't think Johnny Depp probably owns it anymore.
No.
But I feel like that's like I would like to know how it came about. How does it become the it place, I guess, for cool?
Does Adelaide have a Viper Room?
Apart from Melbourne Uniting Church. I don't think so. Nightclubs, clubs and nightclubs is probably an interesting, that's a podcast in itself. There's been some legendary ones over there. Like, what was it? Club 54? No,
Studio 54.
Studio 54. Yeah, there's some classic ones.
I've called up the Wikipedia page. The Viper Room is a nightclub and live music venue located on Sunset Strip in West Hollywood, California. So obviously it's still open, judging from that.
Oh, right.
It was established under its current name in 1993, being co-owned by actors and 21 Jump Street co-stars Johnny Depp and Sal Jenko. It's undergone several changes in ownership, with the present owner being Viper Holdings CEO James Cooper. It continues to host music of multiple genres, including metal, punk, and alternative rock. While predominantly known as a music venue, the Viper Room also has a lower level, which is home to a large whiskey bar.
Right.
The club became known as a hangout spot for young Hollywood elite and gained infamy for its drug-related incidents. Actor River Phoenix had a fatal drug overdose in 1993. Actor Jason Donovan suffered a drug-induced seizure in 95.
Oh, I remember that.
But survived.
Yeah.
Singer Courtney Love survived an overdose in 95 after Depp gave her CPR. In 97, singer Michael Hutchence played his last public performance in the Viper Room before taking his own life a week later. I didn't know that about Michael Hutchence, that his last performance was at the Viper Room.
Yeah,
there
right. Before he flew to Australia and then died. Right. Funnily enough, that night when Jason Donovan had his whole episode there and collapsed, Michael Hutchence was there and actually helped save him and get him back to the hotel or get the ambulance involved, because Jason talks about later on being in his memoir, which I read for some reason. I've never read a memoir on Elvis Presley, but I have read one on Jason Donovan.
Yeah.
And he talks about how embarrassed it was because he kind of grew up with Kylie Minogue and all that, and then Kylie, of course, sort of grew up and got a mature boyfriend, which was Michael Hutchence, who was the epitome of cool, and he was like Jason Donovan, ex-soapy star, pop star, and then he had this drug moment, and then it was Michael Hutchence that kind of stepped in and helped him out and was there or something.
Okay.
So there's a whole interesting subtext there.
Interesting you mentioned Jason Donovan's memoir, and you mentioned Kylie Minogue. Jason Donovan was famous for being a co-star with Kylie Minogue in this TV show, and they also had a brief romance in real life. So everyone in Australia talks about Jason and Kylie, like on a first-name basis.
Early Posh and Becks kind of.
Yeah. So my wife, whose name is Kylie, went to a book signing that Jason Donovan was doing for work and interviewed him for TV, and then she said, "All right, let's do it," and got him to sign a copy of the book for her, and he signed it to Kylie, so she has a copy of his memoir signed to Kylie from Jason.
Nice. That is cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So
I'd say a documentary series about the Viper Room is a cool idea.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's not like a quirky, unmade podcast, that's a funny idea, but it would be a cool thing to listen to.
It's a pretty good idea, isn't it?
Fertile ground, yeah. Like it would be, I'm sure such things have been done even, but a cool idea.
I remember even when I was young in 93, just even the word Viper just sounded like the coolest word.
It's still Viper, the character in Top Gun, is the coolest, It's Tom Skerritt. That's Tom Skerritt. He's like the trainer, and it's like, oh my God, Viper's up here. Like when Viper actually goes up and flies among
the
them.
Old guy.
Yeah. Viper was like,
I forgot about that.
He was cool.
Not almost as cool as the request room.
The request room, where we will be soon. After one more idea each, can be a quick and nasty one. I've got one. How's this for a crap idea? And you'll appreciate the pun in a second. Toilet humour. Two podcasters go on opposite sides of the world, like we sometimes are, go into a toilet and just like tell each other jokes, recording in a toilet. Yeah,
is that the pun?
Yeah. Well, right. Crap idea.
Oh, right, crap idea. Yeah, sorry, I missed that. What would they talk about? Was it toilet humour, or would they talk about toilets?
Well, I think because I call it toilet humour, there has to be a humour component, doesn't it? What about if it's like, how Seinfeld did the thing where he interviews comedians in cars with coffee and stuff? Why don't I interview comedians in cubicles? Call it toilet humour.
Comedians in cubicles with cordial.
Yeah. And we just go into, no, I've got it. I'm in one cubicle and the comedian's in the cubicle next to me, and I interview them about their career. So it's called toilet humour, and at the end you flush and wash your hands, and that's how you end every episode.
I'm done. Yep. Clap, bang, flush.
Look, that's turned into a good idea now. So next to me, so you never actually see them. So next to me in the cubicle there, I've got Bill Burr.
Oh yeah. No, I'm on the other side. Oh, sorry, sir. Nice idea.
Okay.
Oh, that was over too quickly. Now I've got to have another crap idea.
Go on.
Hang on.
One more idea,
and so forth. Here's this is not really an idea, but it's something I wanted to say because I thought it was such an interesting idea, and maybe the idea is in having, I don't know, you can wrap an idea around this.
Okay.
Have you heard this theory that what if Indiana Jones is Han Solo's dream while he's frozen in carbonite? You know how he's like suspended?
Yeah.
And then his mind's off, and the whole time he dreams. I wonder if there's...
Yeah.
Don't you think that's a nice idea?
There's a whole universe of fan theories about, films, and especially cult films, and, Harry Potter and things like that. So-and-so is really so-and-so's, and what if this is all this? And, that's a good podcast idea. There's a whole world of these things. That one is particularly... It's stupid and implausible.
Well, it's not. Yeah. No, see, I think there's a difference between a fan theory, which is like, Dumbledore is Ron Weasley in the future, and he's gone back in time to be Ron Weasley, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
Which is could kind of work, like an Inception, multi-layered sort of idea. And this idea where you kind of just link characters from different films together in a crazy, zany sort of idea. I just like that idea.
Yeah. Then another one. I mean, this isn't a fan theory. I think this is the case, but it's an example of things like that people like. Apparently, in the film Frozen, when the parents go off in the ship and die, which is why the Frozen girls are orphaned. They were going off in the ship to the wedding of Rapunzel or something like that, linking into another film.
Okay.
So quite often all that stuff like links into a podcast about fan theories is like, all right, that's cool, and the theories like you're talking, but weird, wild stuff like that Han Solo thing could be quite fun, where you almost are challenged to make one up. Like you could almost have this, like, okay, Tim, for today's episode, I want you to come up with a fan theory linking Aladdin and BMX Bandits.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you've got to come up with some like wild theory, like like PJ from BMX Bandits' dad made the rug that Aladdin flies on in.
Yes,
like,
yes, that's right.
All this sort of stuff, but have as much like supporting evidence for your case as you can.
So there's the idea of doing it with one character. So, for instance, if you were to link James L. Jones as, if there's some connection between Mufasa and Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he actually...
Yeah, like Mufasa was Darth Vader's pet lion between the ages of 17 and 23. Yeah.
And you can't just say, he reincarnated it, because that says a bit, look, you've got to find a way that they're in the same world together somehow.
Yeah.
That's a fun idea.
Although the dream one is a bit of a cop-out, saying so-and-so is so-and-so's dream. Like,
yeah, I know. That's an easy. I just like that idea to start off with.
Let me go through my list for one more idea. We're not doing all other usual stuff today, like Spoon of the Week and prizes and things.
Although literally we're sitting about 2 meters away from a tub full of...
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling the spoon love today. Here's an idea I had. This isn't a podcast. It's more like just a thing we could do. I don't know if we'll ever do it because it'd be a lot of work, and I need to stop coming up with ideas that involve too much work. But imagine this, right? A prize hamper, a basket or some sort of prize that we're going to give to one of our listeners. You win it, like I don't know how you win it. You could win it at random, like a lottery, or there could be some contest. But you have a prize hamper. And the prize is stuff that's been sent in by all the viewers. So we would say to everyone listening to the podcast, contribute something to our hamper. It could be something from your hometown, or something you love, or something you made, something you would like to donate and gift. So something nice, not something rubbish. Send in knit a beanie, or send in a nice wine from the wine region you live in, or something. Send something in. Everyone sends in this stuff from around the world, and it becomes this collection of lovely, lovely things in a big basket. And then we give it away to someone. Someone wins it. The ultimate prize hamper.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be a fun, lovely thing to do? And it would also make a podcast, or would make for podcast content, because it would be, you'd talk about all the things you'd been sent. Each week you could say, Jill from California this week has sent us this this T-shirt from her hometown, and Greg over in Germany is an expert at carving and whittling things out of wood, and he's made us this little wooden figurine, and that's also going into the prize hamper. And so all this stuff accumulates over time, and you've got all these lovely stories and anecdotes and content as all the stuff comes in, and then you have this big finale where someone gets to have it all, gets to keep it all.
Wow. Everyone who listens, you mean? So thousands.
Potentially. I'm not imagining everyone listening would send something in. If only I had that power, we'd have a lot more patrons. but some subset would, and more would probably want to as it goes along. So Send in the gifts, and then we'll give it away.
Give it all away to one person.
Yeah. Because that's the point to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just send us stuff.
No.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, the
That's
ultimate
fantastic.
prize hamper.
That's cool. I like that. I like that a lot. Wow, we could play with that idea for a while. There was something a little bit similar to that happened once. One at a church service once years ago. Like one night, I was preaching about like giving, like generosity, and how it can be like little bits are good, but how you can really blow someone away, like really bless them. So we decided that night to take up an offering that we were going to give away that night.
All right.
So everyone, and this was back in the day when everyone carried lots of cash. Or at least carried cash instead of not carrying it now. And so we took it up, and I said, just bring everything you can, basically, tonight. And people brought it forward, and we put it in a big basket out the front. And it ended up being like $4,500 or something like that, because it was like 100 people in the room.
Yeah.
And then it was like, all right, let's just give it away. And we just picked a family and just gave it to them.
How was that decision made?
I just made the decision.
Gave it to your wife.
we are the family.
After much consideration, I've decided me.
I will be. Sorry, did I not mention that earlier?
Man, you just invented the church.
It's like we just gave it away to one family who I knew, like the person was studying, the dad was studying for a new vocation and all that kind of stuff. And so it was like, oh, yeah, no, they would be blessed by it. And we just gave it to them and they were overwhelmed, of course.
Yeah.
And so blessed by it because it was like a couple of days before they'd sat down with their bills and gone, oh, gosh, how are we going to make this work and all the rest of it.
There was no resentment. No one came up to you afterwards and said, Tim, I think maybe you should have given it to Gladys because, she's been struggling.
No. Everyone was like, no, that's great. Yeah. And there was like cheering and woo, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so they were just all emotional. And the next week got up and said, I can't tell you how much that meant to us because, we were facing this and this.
They pulled up in their new Porsche.
That's right. They just blew it all.
He got up in front of the church in his Armani suit and said, thank you very much, everyone, for last week.
But it was this awesome spirit of like, come on, you can really blow someone's socks off, really help them out and all that kind of stuff. And that's because that would be quite overwhelming for someone to win something. And it's not like it's just like winning Tats Lotto or something like that. But it is like, oh wow, like they could potentially have hundreds or thousands of items that have just been given from someone. That'd be so cool.
Well, a nice thing to do with this hamper idea, and I'm so scared I'm going to end up doing it now, but would be once all the stuff gets sent in and we've talked about it over a few months and the stuff's accumulated, we could have everyone writes in and makes the case as to why they should be given the hamper, and then you and I decide who gets it. And I don't think it should be like a in need type thing because then it becomes a bit it would be more like who just like makes us feel like they want it the most, like who feels the most inspired to want it and stuff. So that would be better than just giving it away randomly, potentially to someone who doesn't even want it. Everyone then has to write, and then we would say, okay, everyone write in 500 words or less why you should be the one who now gets this hamper at the end.
I wonder if they could nominate other people. I wonder if many people may not know someone else who listens to the podcast.
I don't think because I think it has to go to a listener. Yeah, and I don't think there's that much. No, listeners don't know each other that well, except at your church.
They could, and on Reddit and stuff. Yeah. They could tease someone out. No, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, as to why that's it. Yeah, and what might happen.
We have to do this now, don't we? I'm going to have to give people an address to send stuff in.
Oh, this would be so cool.
The hamper.
It would be great. Hamper. It's going to have to be a pretty big hamper.
Well, it depends how many people send things in, but yeah. I like the idea of some handmade things, people using their skill or their craft or that. Like
that. Knitting something.
Or
crafting up something.
Also things unique to your part of the world. I like the idea of that. Someone from Canada sends in maple syrup or something. I was trying to think of something that wasn't cliched, and I came up with that.
A moose.
Yeah. So,
Oh wow, yeah. That is a cool idea.
Okay, yeah. Tell us, do you like this idea, people? Should we start this hamper thing? If enough people say, yeah, that's cool, you guys should do it, then all right, we'll do it.
It would be also interesting to photograph and have a list of all the things that come from everywhere. That would be cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
everyone gets to enjoy it.
It would become a segment on the show, wouldn't it? For a certain number of episodes, it would be, what's been sent into the hamper this week?
Yeah. Can they spoons, or do you reckon we exclude spoons just to keep it pure? Because that's got its own prestige sort of notion.
Well, I don't want to dictate to people's generosity, and if they feel spoons are what they want to send, then so be it. But yeah, I mean, we'd have to have some rules. No weapons, dangerous substances,
no perishable goods. So just sending it. I mean, you can send yummy stuff if you want, but it may not last.
Yeah, because the hamper will probably be around for a few months before it gets sent. So
yeah.
Oh, there we go. Maybe something's maybe this is the start of something.
Cash? Can they just send cash?
Cash there? They can send that may or may not have arrived at the point. No, you sent $1,000. I never saw that. Do not send cash. All right, we'll talk about this again. This could be a thing. I like it. I think it's got potential.
Yeah.
The prize hamper. So we are now going to retire to the request room. We've had people send in some requests. So if you are a Patreon supporter, you can go and listen to some more. And if you're not a Patreon supporter, now's the time to become one, because you can go and listen to what we talk about next and become part of all that, and go and listen to all the previous ones too, I believe. So, yeah.
The request room. It's like the new Viper room.
The new Viper room.
The place to be.
Yeah. It's like the Viper room, but cooler. Yes. And we are yet to have anyone have a drug overdose in the request room at this stage. This could be the one. So go to patreon.com/unmadefm. Could be a celebrity in there. All right, let's do it.